Alright, I'm back. We'll be talking about something that has been on my mind for quite a while. Body positivity and fat liberation. This movement has become huge, especially online. It's a good time to dive a bit deeper. Ooh. While I don't agree with a lot of things that I've been seeing, I get it. When you've spent your whole life being judged because of your weight, and then somebody comes around saying that you're worthy, it hits hard. And I personally know what it's like to be fat. I lost 40 kilograms and now I'm helping others to do the same. We will watch some videos together and I will react to it in real time just to understand and maybe challenge a couple of things that I hear. So the first video that we will be watching is with a person called Virgie Tovar. Let me quickly Google who that person is. Lecturer and activist who specializes in fat acceptance and body positivity. Anyway, so let's get started.
Yes, let's get comfy. I am David Lopez. I've had many titles in my life. Celebrity hairstylist, beauty content creator. I am your host. I want to welcome our guest, Virgie Tovar, author, scholar, activist. Welcome.
I like her glasses, man. Looks like a friendly person.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Of course.
Fatphobia, which is a form of bigotry against higher weight people, is what took me out of my body. This is my body and this is me. Like there was a separation. And when I was a kid, those two things weren't separate ever.
I understand what she's saying here. I think being reduced to your appearance, people judge you based on how you look. Although that may not be in line with who you really are, that you may be disconnecting with your own self.
Going into puberty was my relationship with my body and, you know, family members kind of pinching my belly or especially in Hispanic culture, the kind of overt commentary about your weight always. It's just like a very natural thing.
I wouldn't say that's something that is specifically tied to his culture. It's all about how you're dealing with that. It could be something that breaks you, or it could be something that makes you stronger and more motivated to do something about it. You also have it inside of you to change things that you don't like, if you don't like it.
Who are listening, can you talk more about the difference between maybe fat phobia and fat activism and maybe the intersections between?
Fat activism. I like those terms. I feel like people are making activism out of everything now. What is fat activism? Let's listen to it.
The two?
Yeah, so I mean, fatphobia is a form of bigotry, right? And a lot of people don't know that because we've been taught that our attitudes towards higher weight people are rightfully negative because of health reasons.
Health is a key issue when you're overweight. You cannot deny that being overweight does not have potentially negative effects. I wouldn't take that as like a light argument. It is kind of a significant one.
I will parenthetically say that our notion of health is deeply flawed, problematic, and kind of living in the 1800s. Like the BMI was invented in the 1800s, okay?
Yeah, that's true. The BMI is not perfect. It has its weaknesses, but also dismissing that is a little bit like, you know, throwing out the baby with the bathwater, you know? It's just because a concept isn't perfect doesn't mean it doesn't count.
By European men.
But yeah, yes. By like this Belgian mathematician. He wasn't even a physician.
I don't know what that has to do with the BMI, that it was a Belgian person. It's not, I think like they're mixing up things that are not necessarily relevant. Let's see what they have to say about it.
And he ended up becoming the grandfather of eugenics. So like just to contextualize how we're defining health, it's by a Belgian mathematician from 1830, right, who was the grandfather of eugenics. So, yeah.
Well, but you know, you cannot dismiss an argument of a person because they say something else that is not correct. If you look at philosophers like Immanuel Kant, he was racist, but probably everybody at his time was, which doesn't mean that the things he said in general about, you know, other things are not good things he said. You cannot just mix it up like that, you know?
In fact, fatphobia is an actual legitimate form of discrimination. It's largely a belief system that isn't really based in evidence or data or science.
You cannot dismiss that scientifically it's proven that obesity can cause health issues and is causing health issues because of the reasons you just mentioned. It's just not working that way.
Fat phobia manifests in a lot of different ways, like everything from a wage gap, like plus size women make $9,000 to $19,000 less per year than straight size women.
Okay, but that, correlation is not causation.
We love seeing magazine covers of what you said, a fat celebrity, for lack of a better word, that now has lost 100 pounds. We love to see that. Oh, so we knew it. It's like the psychology of it is like, see, I knew it. I knew that skinny person was always inside there. Now look at them, how happy they must be. So systemically, we still...
I am happier. I gotta say, I cannot deny it. I am happier this way. Maybe not for everybody. But for me, it did a whole lot of good. I was fat for a long time and I was not fat sometimes in between. But it's much better to not be fat for me personally. I mean, I feel healthier. I can wake up much easier in the morning. I enjoy being, able to move much easier. Like walking up and down stairs, frankly speaking, is much better since I'm not fat anymore. So I want to hear that person that says, I'm not fat anymore and I miss being fat.
Diets that are not seen as diets, like, I'm going to get a juice cleanse. And it's like, oh, that's healthy. I'm doing it for health reasons. But
no, juice cleanses are bullshit. That's not a diet. But if you do a bit of research, you know that it's bullshit. So I think what you can say is that because weight loss is a problem for so many people and they desperately trying to get a solution for that, there's just a lot of snake oil being sold. But that doesn't mean that the problem doesn't exist for people or the desire to lose weight is just wrong. It is there. It is a fact. People want to lose weight. It's one of these evergreen topics. Everybody wants to be fit, healthy, and wealthy. It's hard to argue against that, right? Anyways.
What is your definition of health?
Which is somewhat a bullshit question, right? Like, why do you ask somebody, what is your definition of health? I mean, it's kind of clear what health is. It's not to be sick. It's very objective. It's not like, what is your subjective definition of health? But okay, let's listen in.
No one has to be healthy.
T.
No, right? Like,
T.
I mean, it's like, no, like...
T.
There is no governing body that's like out there putting, you know what I mean? It's like no one owes anybody that.
I agree with that. If you choose to not be healthy, it's up to you. You don't have to be. Like, why should anybody force you to be healthy? But I think nobody does that, right? Nobody forces you to be healthy. They give you an advice to be healthy.
And I want to back up and bring in intersectionality and say, like, right, like, look at the disabled community, right? Like, I think people with disabilities have, and activists within that space have consistently been saying, like, I'm never going to be your notion of healthy.
Ooh, that comparison is crunchy. Wow. You cannot compare obesity or being overweight to disability. You cannot compare these two things. That's very unfair towards people with disabilities. I mean, people with disabilities cannot do anything about it. They are born that way, or maybe they had an accident that made them that way, or some disease. But it's very, very, very difficult to compare that to obesity. I don't think that's appropriate. Honestly, it's not even close to being appropriate. That's very unfair.
And I want to bring in like actually like a friend who's a PhD.
Is he like giving salt? Like the Salt Bay guy? Like
all of my work, which started about 12 years ago, it sort of started with a conversation I had with a friend I grew up with. And she said, do you remember when we were little and how you were always expected to play the boy whenever we were...
I remember when I was a kid, we used to play soccer. The fat kid always had to go into the goal. Like you're not outside. You always have to be in the goal. It's the fat kid has to be in the goal. That's the rule in Germany when I was a kid. So let's have a look at some fat phobia TikToks.
As a fat person, I often dread medical appointments because of blatant medical fat phobia,
compounding marginalization of fat people.
And this is like maybe a controversial take, but I don't think that the majority of fat people, until you learn about body liberation and body positivity, no one would choose to continue to be fat in a world where they absolutely hate fat people.
Everyone should be a fat liberationist.
So it's fatphobic to not want to be fat? Yeah, actively not wanting to be fat is fatphobic. So I'm fatphobic for not being fat.
Okay, so I need to process this. That you are fat phobic if you are promoting to not be fat. Okay, then I'm fat phobic. So what is body positivity and fat liberation all about? Let me give it to you straight from somebody who was 40 kilograms heavier. To me personally, it's not so much a movement as it is more of a collective coping mechanism. A way to make peace with the fact that you are struggling in a world that constantly judges you. And I get that. I really do. I've lived that myself. Being fat isn't just physically hard. It messes with your confidence, dating life, your energy. So yeah, I understand why people want to flip the script to say, I'm good the way that I am, because they're tired. Tired of being shamed, tired of failing. But here is where it gets messy. Because this movement slowly turned somewhat into an ideological trap, where not wanting to be fat is being seen as betrayal, where helping someone else losing weight becomes fat phobia, where change is labeled self-hate. And suddenly, people like me who went through the struggle, who got out, who want to help others, we are made into villains. Oh, you're a traitor now! You are part of the problem. But here's the truth. I didn't lose weight because I hated myself. I lost weight because I finally loved myself enough to want a better life. And now I'm building something for people who feel like I used to feel, who are tired of failing, who are overwhelmed and exhausted, ashamed of even try again, but who still, deep down, want change. So if that makes me fat phobic, I guess I'm the worst nightmare of the fat phobic community. Now excuse me when I will go to help some people get healthier, happier, and lighter, whether or not the internet approves. Okay, I think the internet is a little too wild for me, man. I'm just gonna turn it off. How about that? Just turn it off.